to the next game, another 10 o'clock game, where we have the Los Angeles Chargers heading back east again, this time to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Both teams 2-0. Both teams, you could say, kind of surprising 2-0. One of these surprising teams is going to be 3-0. The Chargers come in a little dinged up. I still hear that Herbert is a little dinged up, but should play. Um, and any mobility issues for your quarterback, the Steelers can definitely take advantage of. I have not been a believer in the Steelers as of yet. I still think that they have a ways to go, especially offensively, but defensively they're proving to be an elite team. Can the Chargers put points on the board against them? We'll have to see. They've relied on that run game a little bit so far this year. Uh, the Chargers have. And the Steelers, you know what they're going to do. They're going to ground and pound, and they're not going to put a lot on Fields' plate. It sounds like Fields is going to start again for the Steelers. So it should be an interesting game. Um, Having to travel to the East Coast back-to-back weeks, I don't think helps the Chargers much at all. So it'll be interesting. But what are you thinking about the game, and what does the code have to say? Well, or
So
not.
we have two different plays in this game. One two unit and one single unit play. Um, you've seen a little bit of line movement so far. Opened right around Steelers -2. It's been bet down with sharp money down to 1.5 already. So you've seen some Charger money come in. Total hasn't really moved at all. It's kind of stuck on that 35.5 number. So the sports books are expecting a little bit lower scoring game. And I'm kind of with you. I also think Herbert probably plays. I know the MRI came back negative. Um, I mean, it is with the Chargers' early success. If they'd hold him out of a game, it, maybe I don't necessarily think they will. Um, but I guess we'll just have to wait till closer to kick off with that one. But and I'm done being surprised by the Pittsburgh Steelers winning football games. Like Mike Tomlin, he does it every year. I mean, when you've coached in the NFL for 20 years and you don't have a losing season, there's a reason for that. I don't think
Yep.
no, it hasn't quite been 20 years. I don't think,
Hasn't quite been 20, but he is one of the
but
longest tenured coaches in the
yeah.
NFL.
And when you don't have losing seasons, I don't care who he has. I mean, the defense is the same. They're going to get after the quarterback with their outside linebackers and their front seven. They force turnovers on the back end, and they try to control the clock and run the ball. And TJ Watt is probably the biggest game wrecker, I'll say, in the NFL right now. I mean,
Yep.
when he's, and I don't get why more DNs don't do it and go after the football on every single sack, but
Yeah.
he probably forces, feels like, over a fumble a game just on strip sacks. Now they may not always recover those fumbles, but it feels like he's getting the ball on the ground all the time. Um, and Pittsburgh is a big one because they're in a big division. I mean, that division is so loaded that the more wins they can stack, the better, because especially out of their division games to be able to sneak into the playoffs.
And especially early with their schedule on the back end is just tough. I mean, that's the only way to put it. It's going to be a grind every game once they get around week 9, 10 for them. So that being said, to rack up these early victories for Pittsburgh is of paramount importance. And I just like this Charger team. The more I watch, the more I see of them, the more I read about them, the better I like them. So and two
Yeah.
two potential playoff teams, and I wasn't saying that about Pittsburgh 3 weeks ago. But when you sit atop the division, and you got to give credit where credit's due. They're a game up on everybody and 2 games up on Cincinnati already, and covering ground and making up ground in the NFL is not an easy thing to do. So,
Yeah.
congratulations to Mike Tomlin that
I
way.
mean, the biggest thing with the Chargers, I would say, is unlike a lot of teams, they have an identity. They know who they are. And I think you get that with a Jim Harbaugh team. They're going to come in. Herbert doesn't have to do everything, hurt or not. But the fact that he doesn't means that because he is a little dinged up, it isn't quite as big of a factor because he doesn't need to throw for 350 yards and a couple touchdowns. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that's definitely a benefit. But like I said, I mean, we've got multiple different bets on this game. So make sure you head over to BatzBets.com, check out the packages, check out the NFL package specifically, which is already paid for itself through week one, um, and go from there. But
Yep. No, agreed.